Most shopping mistakes happen before you even enter the fitting room. And I think this is why so many people have closets full of clothes but still feel like they have nothing to wear. Because shopping is usually treated like a random activity, not something intentional. Definitely not something that is worth putting effort into. And I think that's the wrong attitude to have towards shopping clothes. We are spending time and money, so why are so many people so reckless about it? I think this needs to be changed. And this is what we are discussing today. I hope to change your mindset about shopping clothes and also give you practical tips on what to do in order to have money well spent and end up with clothes that you actually love wearing. Step 1. Define what you actually need. The first thing I always recommend before shopping is defining what your needs are. Not vaguely, like a dress, a top, something for summer, but something way more specific. Because vague shopping goals create chaotic and unsatisfactory wardrobe. And this is also how people end up owning 5 versions of the same white t-shirt while still feeling like nothing works. So instead of saying something like, I need something cute for summer, start defining. For example, I need a midi summer dress in a plain color with sleeves, flowy skirt, with buttons, easy to dress up, comfortable to walk in, and wearable both casually and for elevated dinners. That is already a completely different level of clarity. And the more specific you are, the easier it becomes to recognize the right garment when you see it. And it also helps you not to carry half of the store to the fitting room. Because otherwise, everything starts looking very tempting. So when you think about defining what you need, think about the type of the item, for example, like shirts, pants, top, dresses, and so on, the length it should have, the sleeve type, if it has sleeves, the neckline, fabric, colors, prints, transparency level. If it's bottoms, think about the shoes you're going to wear. This is actually very important if you're buying things for the office and you have a dress code. And also keep in mind the weather and the occasion you get that piece for. Because clothes are not isolated objects in your life. They need to coexist with your activities, preferences, and lifestyle. And the clearer your criteria are, the less emotionally reactive your shopping will be. And the faster too, as you won't be wasting time on checking things that you actually don't need. Step 2. Define the role of the garment. This step is absolutely important. You need to ask yourself, where am I intending to wear this? Because you need to have an intention for the clothes. Because a lot of unworn clothes belong to what I call the fantasy wardrobe, which are the clothes for a life you imagine yourself having, but that just doesn't exist for you. So you need to be realistic and honest with you and define the role for that new item you want to shop for. Because if there is no space in your life for it, they will keep staying in the closet. So for this step, think if it's for the office, walks, activities in nature, going out for dinners, even to wear it at home. Like, these are all good criteria to keep in mind when looking for a piece, because all these activities will impact the expectations you'd have towards a new item. And it's also totally fine to have one piece to be worn in different environments. I actually recommend you to do it because you'd get clothes this way worn more often and also decrease the clothes you own. Step 3. Set up a budget before you even start looking. As a general thing in life, I would say that budgets are absolutely important, and they are also important when it comes to shopping clothes because they become crucial and create boundaries before emotions get involved. Sometimes we can actually get very emotionally attached to a new piece if we realize we actually like it, although we don't need it. So this is when the budget becomes absolutely crucial, because it is the boundary that is holding us not to spend the money. So before you even enter the store, define your range and the absolute maximum. You can check the brand's websites in advance for understanding the price range if you want to be a little more efficient in shopping malls. And when it comes to the budget, it's all about the personal criteria and what you can afford. And indeed, more qualitative pieces will cost more, but I also understand that not everyone affords more expensive clothes, so you do you, but do keep in mind the number when you go shopping. And one thing I hope is that while watching all my videos, you started getting an understanding that $5 for a qualitative t-shirt isn't actually a realistic thing. And I know that there are t-shirts for that price or even less, but know that you cannot expect it to behave like a very qualitative piece. Because in order to get that t-shirt on the rug, it had to firstly be fabric, which was obtained from fibers, and then it was woven or knitted. Then it was also designed, then the pattern and technical documentation was created, then somebody cut down all the pieces and somebody else sewn the pieces together at expensive equipment, then it was all packaged with materials and labels, then most probably it was shipped across the world and then unloaded from the ships using various logistics companies, and then they would have put in a store store that is paying rent, staff, and utilities. So imagine how much all of these people involved are getting paid for a t-shirt if it costs $5. And now also think of the quality of the materials and manufacturing processes used to make this t-shirt in order to make that price. And I do know that economy of scales makes things cheaper, but still, $5 isn't realistic for everyone to be treated fairly in the process, including our planet, and also getting a very qualitative t-shirt. Step 4. Know your measurements and fit preferences. Nowadays, clothes sizes mean almost nothing anymore. You can be one size in one store and then be 2 sizes bigger or smaller somewhere else. So knowing your measurements in inches or centimeters saves an incredible amount of time and frustration. And it also helps you focus on the fit instead on the emotional reaction to the size label. But beyond measurements, I think it's absolutely important to know your fit preferences. Because some people like structure. Some people need more movement and they don't want their clothes to be restrictive. Some people like more flowy things. Some people hate having anything restrictive around the waist or arms. And these things matter because your body notices discomfort very quickly, even if you try to convince yourself that the garment is fine, because a lot of unworn clothes are technically beautiful but physically uncomfortable. And when it comes to the measurements, there are 3 main ones I'd recommend you to take. The first one is the bust measurement. In order to get this measurement, wrap a measuring tape around your torso and across the fullest part of your bust. It should feel snug, not tight, and you should be breathing normally in this process. The second is the waist measurement. To get it, you have to find your natural waist, which is usually around your belly button. You have to hold the tape level and comfortably loose, and do not suck in your belly. You need clothes that are actually made for your body and not for your fantasy self, but is slimmer. And the third measurement is for the hips. For this, you have to measure the fullest part of your hips, which is about 8 inches or around 20 centimeters below your waistline. Keep the tape horizontally and relaxed. And there can be some additional measures you could need, though not all brands display them in charts or in product description, but it's good to have them on hand. These are the inseam length and the sleeve length. The inseam is the distance from the top of your inner thigh down to your ankle. The easiest way to measure it is actually on a pair of pants that fit you very well. So you have to lay them flat and measure along the inside seam, starting at the crotch and ending at the hem. And to measure the sleeve length, start at the top of your shoulder, where a sleeve would naturally begin. Then, with your arm slightly bent, measure down along the outside of your arm, over the elbow, all the way to your wrist bone. This slight bend helps mimic how the sleeve will fit in motion. And write your measurements down, save them in your phone's notes, and next time you shop online or in-store, use them to find the best fit. Step 5. Define your non-negotiables. This step helps prevent repeated mistakes, because people most probably already know the kind of clothes they don't wear or don't like, but they just keep ignoring that pattern while shopping. Maybe you hate polyester close to your face, or maybe mini skirts make you feel exposed, or maybe you never wear stiff fabrics, or maybe cropped pieces make you feel uncomfortable, or maybe thin straps constantly annoy you or dig into your skin, or maybe certain color wash you away or make you look sick. All of these are not random preferences. These are useful data. And the more attention you pay to your personal patterns, the easier shopping becomes. Your wardrobe should work with your body and your habits and not against them. If it's easier when you're wearing clothes, just make a list of what bothers, and this would be already a good start to understand your non-negotiables. Step 6. Learn how to evaluate clothes. And this is where a little more education becomes extremely valuable. The thing is that many shopping mistakes happen simply because people don't know what they're looking at. So remember to always check the composition label, the fabric feel, the opacity, the stretchiness of the fabric, the stitching, the lining if there is any, or the transparency of the fabric. Also pay attention to how the fabric behaves, not just how it looks, because appearance can be very misleading in stores. Some fabrics look beautiful standing still and become uncomfortable, sweaty, clingy, stiff, transparent, or overwhelming in real life. And this is also why I always recommend doing small fabric tests in store when possible, like seeing how quickly it wrinkles, how it reacts to water, how transparent it is, and so on. And I have a video on it, which I will link down below, and also I'll include a card around here. Fabric behavior affects comfort much more than people realize, so be smarter, check the clothes more before actually buying them. And when it comes to the styling evaluation, I recommend trying to match the new garment with at least 3 pieces you already own. Can you imagine yourself mixing it up with some of the clothes you have? Or does it require different shoes, maybe some special underwear, maybe a different lifestyle, maybe a different confidence, or maybe even a different version of yourself. Because beautiful is not enough. Wearable matters much more. Step 7. Use the fitting room properly. Frankly, I think most people use fitting rooms incorrectly. It's not only to put those clothes on you, take some cute selfies while standing, and decide if you take the piece or not based only on the appearance. Clothes are meant to move with your body. So in the fitting room, you have to test movement. Sit down, walk around, or as much as you can, or raise your knees to simulate walking. You should also raise your arms, reach forward, turn sideways, and watch what happens. Just feeling like a flight attendant. So, does the skirt ride up? Or does the fabric pull? Or does the neckline shift? Or does the garment twist? Do the pants feel tight and make it difficult to breathe? And does it become uncomfortable after 30 seconds? And then ask yourself the most important question: would I realistically reach for it repeatedly? Or do you simply just like the idea of having this outfit in your wardrobe? Because those are two very different things. Clothes do have an emotional impact on us, we can't ignore that, but for having a curated, reachable wardrobe, liking that piece isn't enough. It has to work well for you, and the body will always tell you if it sits well with you and how you move, if you actually can move in it. Step 8. Evaluate every option carefully. Before buying anything, pause for a moment and go back to your original criteria, those specific ones I asked you to make before going shopping. I know stores can be overwhelming and a little fun shopping could happen as well, but if you went to buy a pair of pants, you have to not get distracted and get seduced by dresses or some other things, because you need pants. You went to buy pants. That's your goal, and you should achieve your goal. You should not get distracted on the way. So, think about it. Does the garment actually match what you needed? Pull that description and read it again. And if it works well, think about, can you style it at least 3 ways? Does it work with your existing wardrobe? Does it make sense for your climate, lifestyle, habits, and comfort needs? And would you still want it if it wasn't discounted? This last question is very important because discounts create urgency, and urgency weakens decision making, and we don't want to fall for that. A lot of clothes are bought because they feel like an opportunity and not necessarily because they are truly right for us. And when it comes to shopping mistakes, I think the biggest one is shopping for our fantasy self and not for the reality. For a fantasy lifestyle, for fantasy care habits like buying clothes that require a lot of ironing and you don't even own an iron. Or fantasy occasions or fantasy confidence. It's okay not to be very confident, but don't buy something that you require a lot of confidence to have in order to put that thing on and go outside. So basically just don't choose anything that is for some fantasy versions of yourself. We are evolving, we are changing, that's true, but if that person is very far away in the future, don't start buying things for that person. Buy things for your tomorrow self. There could be some other small issues which I recommend paying attention to, like ignoring fabric composition or compromising on comfort, or also buying because something is trendy and you don't actually need it, or buying something because it's discounted, as I mentioned before, or also buying something because it looks good on someone else and we would like to be that someone else, but it doesn't work for us. We want to be better, and this is why this fantasy idea is pretty convincing and it has high potential to make us a little delusional when shopping, so be very careful not to fall into that trap. Because some clothes are very beautiful objects and they can fit you very well and make you feel good, but they may not be useful clothes for your life. They may not be what you need or what you have budget for or what you have space for in your closet. And recognizing the difference is a very big step ahead. Overall, I think clothes shopping sometimes is not fun at all, but it is a very purposeful activity and it requires effort. I think the goal should not be owning more clothes to have what to wear, but I think the goal should be having clothes that work well for your life, clothes you naturally reach for again and again, and clothes you enjoy wearing, and also the clothes that your body accepts. And if you'd like me to make a video about how to prepare for shopping online, leave a comment so I would know it's of interest. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, it really helps my channel grow. And if you like this type of videos, you can also subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And if you're more interested about clothes and how to care for them and all the tips around textiles and fabrics in our lives, I share more, including how I make clothes, on my Instagram account, so follow me there as well. See you in the next one.